Emergencies can happen at any time, and it's always a good idea to be prepared for them. A recent survey conducted by AT&T and the National Emergency Number Association found that the majority of people in the United States, almost 70%, do not have a plan in place for communicating in times of emergency. Today, we have Randy Thompson, Director of Brunswick County Emergency Management, and Clint Berry, Vice President of Network Operations for ATMC, here to discuss why having an emergency communications plan is so important. Thank you all for being on the show today.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Now, what exactly is an emergency communications plan, and why is it so important?
You know, in the event of an emergency, being properly prepared could literally mean the difference between life and death. To ensure that you and your family know what to do very quickly during an emergency is very important. And one of the important things that you need to have in place is an emergency communications plan that outlines what you do, who you call, what kind of information to share, and being able to give that information in some form that the recipient, the 911 center, if that's who it is, could receive it.
Okay, so this does include then calling 911.
The 911 center is a big piece of it, but it's much, much larger with your communications plan. Your communication plan starts with a base, a communications base. And what you're looking for there is a central location within the home in which you would have the availability of your children to be able to have easy access to it, to be able to locate it. You want to make sure that with your having your plan there and your 911 information there, you want to make sure that your physical address is written down there as well. Making sure that you have numbers of friends and family, of your local pediatrician, the hospitals. All of those are information and number and contact information that you really is essential for your communications plan.
So you want to find a place in the home that everyone can get to, have 911 and your physical address posted and your contact information, but what else needs to be in this plan?
You know, having a way to communicate regardless of the conditions existing is extremely important. We recommend that each home, especially those that have young children or elderly living in them, have a landline phone service. And make sure that that landline phone service has a corded telephone with it. Over half of the homes today, they don't have a corded phone. You know, during our assessments, we're not seeing that a corded phone is a part of the emergency communications plan. And we really feel that if the conditions are existing, that one way to be able to communicate is going to be that corded phone.
Okay. Now, Clint, can you tell us why it is so important to have a corded landline phone in your home in the event of an emergency?
Sure. You know, there are actually a lot of reasons why it's a good idea. But first and foremost is E911 service. The ability to pick up a phone during any condition and for 911 service to be able to pinpoint your location is extremely important. I mean, it's very valuable information. And the corded phone is the most dependable way of accomplishing that.
And what are some ways that the landline phone is more dependable?
Well, our plant in particular is buried, which means all of our lines are underground. And I say all, it's really just shy of 100%. But all those lines then are not susceptible to wind, rain, flooding, a lot of the natural disasters we typically get. They're much more resistant to that, more resilient service. We are required to stay at 5 nines reliability. We've exceeded that every year we've been a cooperative.
Okay. Now, I know there's a difference between having a corded and a cordless phone when it comes to your electricity going out. Can you explain that?
Yeah, a corded phone is powered by our plant. It does not require commercial AC power. Cordless phones, IP phones, digital phones, they all require AC. So in other words, when your lights go out, your phones quit working. Okay. With a corded landline, where your phone is plugged directly into the wall, to your hand, there's a wire. Those phones are powered by our plant. That's powered through the phone line coming into your house.
Okay.
And our sites are backed up by battery and generator and can run for days without commercial power. So even if nothing else is working in your house, you could still pick up the phone, get dial tone, and call 911 or any other emergency number as Randy's mentioned.
Okay, so that's really the most important thing, I guess. If something does happen and the electricity goes out, then you still can pick up that phone if it's a corded phone. Then.
Correct. Absolutely.
And what about fiber to the home communities?
That's a good question. Fiber doesn't carry electricity, so that's come up in discussion. But we've maintained that level of reliability by putting batteries at every single location. So each home in a fiber community actually has a battery backup in his home or in their home that provides the dial tone. So if your power goes out in your house, once again, in a fiber community as well, you pick up that corded phone and you will get dial tone.
What else should families do to prepare an emergency communications plan?
When creating your plan, just remember to discuss how you're going to communicate with your family and with whom. Each family member should have access to a list of who will need to be contacted. Make sure that they take a copy of this list and place it with their emergency supplies so that they'll have the list. The list will be available during those times in which we're having disaster or impending disaster. It is also helpful to make sure that you're planning for the use of your wireless phones. Educating your children is essential with your plan. They need to know how and when to use 911. They need to be allowed to practice. If they have if you have a non-working phone within the house, or you can utilize your phone and disconnect your phone so that you can actually allow the children in the home to actually practice with an adult, making sure they know what an essential call is and a non-essential call, an appropriate phone call and an inappropriate phone call when dialing. Give them scenarios so that they can dial 911 with those.
Now that's very, very helpful advice. Do you have any other tips on home emergency communication planning?
Well, I think one of the most important things is once you put your kit together, making sure that you've got an inventory and then making sure that everything's in working condition. You want to make sure that you're going to inventory all your items, like that corded phone that I spoke about earlier, making sure that you've got a corded landline phone, making sure that you've got your wireless phones, making sure that you've got chargers, making sure that you've got extra batteries, and you want to do periodic checks on all of these. It's not a bad idea to check the batteries and then have spare batteries to back up all of those as well.
Do you have any other tips on using 911?
Yes, there are a few important points to point out. Know when a true emergency has occurred. Know when you or someone else is in immediate vicinity of imminent danger. Know your exact location. And pay close attention to your surroundings during that time as well. Remain calm. Do not hang up the phone if you're talking to 911, even if you've made a mistake. We want to ensure your safety, and we want to ensure the information that you're providing, so stay on the line with us.
Okay. Now this has all been very, very helpful information. Is there somewhere that viewers can go online or a number that they can call to get this information?
Absolutely. They can log on to our website, www.brunswicks.com. They can also visit the ATMC website at www.atmc.net. They can also call our office at the Emergency Services Office at 253-5383. And they can also contact the National Emergency Number Association, NEMA, at their website and collect a lot of other information. And their website address is www.nena.org.
Any final words of advice on emergency communications planning?
Take time and come up with a plan. Educate your family, and if an emergency does take place, Don't deviate from your plan. Lives can be saved by knowing exactly what to do. Create a plan.